What's up, universe? It's your boy Skirt Skirt here with another one, and today we're talking about pro tips the pros don't talk about. Now, let me preface all of this. I am not a pro, but my homies and dudes that I race with on here are pros. And I've taken a lot of notice to things that they do, nuances that I've learned, all these things that are kind of trickled in over the last, I'd say, 4 weeks of me playing the game that have actually opened up my eyes to the stuff that may be missing from your guys' writing. What I've noticed is that there's tons of videos out there talking about clutch boosting and bike setup and all this stuff. In fact, my boy Goated Godly is probably one of the best at putting out videos that when I started, I watched. He's probably one of the best at putting out videos to really show you how to set everything up. And in doing so, I had got the perfect setup, not only for my bike, but also my camera view and everything, right? And after I got that all done, I noticed that I rode for months. And my pace had gotten better, slowly and slowly and slowly. But for having almost 700 hours on the game, I noticed that my biggest progress came probably in the last maybe 15 to 20 hours of actual gameplay. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, what am I doing different? And so this video is not to say that I'm pro, trying to teach y'all how to ride like pros, because let me tell you something, there's a big gap before I get to being pro. Um, in fact, some would say I'm slow as fuck. But what we're doing right now is I'm going to share with you the things that I've noticed that are absolutely crucial to being able to take the setups and everything that you've learned and watched and kind of put together and fill in the gaps, because there definitely is some stuff that's missing that you learn as you go. And so I'm here to expose a little bit of that and see if it'll, help your guys' writing out even a little bit, because it did help me out a lot, these things that I found out. So stay tuned. Let's go. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about with you guys is tenacity on your button smashing. Now, I don't think that everybody understands that this is one of those games where you absolutely have to go crazy on the controls. I'm talking marathon levels of absolute crushing these buttons. As in, when you're moving the sticks, you gotta really be slamming them things. You gotta really be just smushing them in. Like, if you're not getting stick drift at least once in the lifetime of playing this game, you're just not hitting them hard enough. And the reason is, all of these things you learn how to do, they happen in, microseconds, nanoseconds, freaking seconds, okay? We're talking barely have enough time to do the thing. So having your brain concentrate on every little micro movement so that you can be a better player through just basically being there before you need to be there, as in your little rider, you go ahead and just smash and BAM! Hit it on the whip, hit it on the scrub, hit it on the brakes. Like, these things are all super important, because if you're not sweating just a little bit after you're done riding, you haven't been riding hard enough. And I found that the more that I'm just in tune, totally just absorbing, scrubbing, whatever it is, if I'm smashing these buttons and really giving it my all, my brain's locked in and I'm doing better. That's just facts of what I've learned, and it'll absolutely help you ride better versus someone who's just all lazy and just, half hard, just barely even getting it going. Because honestly, if you're just out here to casually ride, that's cool. But we're talking about things to get you faster. And if you want to get faster, you got to be a little aggressive on the buttons. All right, point number 2. You got to ride this like it's real life. And what I mean is that specifically when it comes to your cornering, corner speed is kind of the foundation of anything that is worth doing in this game. Your speed comes from it. You getting past usually happens somewhere in the corners. When it comes to bringing down your lap times, hitting a good corner is going to help a lot. Cornering is the bread and butter. So a lot of people hate on the physics of this game, especially if you're coming from the Milestone Supercross games, because they're like, oh, it feels, like it's too fast, not realistic, yada, yada, yada. Have you ever ridden a fucking 450 in real life? Okay? The 450s are fast as shit, but you got to approach it like Jet. You got to have tons of speed going into the turn, And then when you're in the turn, you got to focus a lot on the roll speed in it. So you want to go fast up to it, hit a little brakes, be very controlled on that throttle once you're in the turn. Okay, most of your, oh, that was shitty. Most of your speed comes through your ability to roll through the turn and then accelerate on the way out right at the apex. If you try to just hold it pinned wide open throughout the turns, like it's a video game, like you're going crazy, what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up understeering and flying off the track. Not like that, because that was just me being stupid, because like I said, I'm not pro. But you're gonna push the front and tuck nuts, right? And it's never good. So what you want to be able to do is do your best to have as much speed possible going in. Try to make it so that you let off the throttle ever so slightly while still being freaking spastic on the what's it called, the sticks. And you want to make sure that you accelerate out in a way that's going to give you the best traction and line up for the next obstacle. So corner like it's real. Go in, let off, and accelerate. You do this, you're going to fly off the track less often, and you're going to have smoother turns, which make for faster lap times. Right. Tip number 3. Second and third gear is your bread and butter. Supercross, for sure, you shouldn't be out of third gear very often. I mean, like 80 to 90% of the time, third gear is going to be the highest gear you want to be in. You want to couple this obviously with clutching, holding back on the sticks and straightaways, but what you'll notice is that if you go to fourth gear in too many spots, you're going to bog. You're not going to have enough time to really maximize what you can from the engine, and second gear is very powerful, especially right out of turns, and third gear can get you through most rhythm sections with speed. Now, in the Nationals, second and third gear is still the bread and butter. In fact, it's surprising because I think second gear gets you all the way up to, was it 65, 69? Ooh, 69. What are you, a fourth grader? No, 69 miles an hour, somewhere like that, before you have to shift to fourth. Now, fourth is useful in outdoors because there are some long straightaways where shit gets crazy, and then you have to go ahead and shift up, and you will have enough speed. But for example, I found that if there's a long straightaway going uphill, like in Washougal, or that one crazy uphill at Southwick that's just super bumpy and rough and rutted, fourth gear absolutely bogs, and you have to figure out a downshift at some point. So second and third gear can do mostly anything. Now, the reason I bring this up is because when I started riding this game and playing it and everything, I was treating it like it was Milestone Supercross, where like you can blitz whoops in fifth gear and fucking go to the moon and shoot friggin' sugar boogers out your butt, you know, in whatever gear you want. This game is a little bit different. This game has a lot of torque in the beginning of the in the beginning of the acceleration with the power, and then it kind of falls off and sends. But the torquiness and the speed, it gets you to mostly as much as you need it right in second and third. That's where you'll get your butter. So I like second will still be enough to get me over here, still in second. We'll cross up second gear, I'll shift to third in the air, hit the clutch when I land, clutch, 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 a little whip, try to make this, I had to let off, grab some brake, clutch out, triple, still in second, kind of came up a little short, but I'm pretty sure that's because I didn't get into it right. I can get into that in second, boom, second. See, so you don't really need to be playing with the fourth gear that much in Supercross at all. But as you'll see in the Nationals, there are moments when you do need it. However, not very often. So second and third gear are your bread and butter. Alright guys, tip number 4. Wheeling and wheel tapping instead of jumping. Now what this means is, of course you're going to want to jump all the jumps, hit all the rhythms, and hit everything, okay? And this doesn't apply for everything, but what I will say is sometimes in this game on specific tracks, you actually make more time when you wheelie and then wheel tap a certain obstacle. And there's times where this can save you a lot of time because you're not going to spend as much of it in the air. And the rhythm section just makes sense because it kicks you too high, and then you have to wheel tap some obstacles. Now this one is more like you got to kind of see it and feel it to where you understand. But if you ever hit a section where you can see that boom, 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 select that, wheel tap, boom, 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 that's not a good one because it's the dragon's back. But you'll be able to use it and actually make better time because you're staying lower, right? Some of these jumps totally kick you and they mess with you. So what you want to do is basically eliminate that stuff. I just go ahead and just blah, 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 right over the top. It doesn't come up too often, but when it does, you can tell, and when you use it, it works out a little bit better. So just keep that in mind, wheeling and wheel tapping rather than just jumping the whole section. Alright guys, tip 5. Knowing when to use the back brake over the regular brake. Now, this one's crazy because I, until maybe 3 weeks ago, didn't know that there was a back brake that even existed on the game. I don't know why. I didn't pay attention when I got in here. I didn't look at the controller. Something happened. I fucking retarded, bro. Had a little just brain shit the bed, bro. And I just didn't, I didn't even know. As soon as I found out that there was a back brake, I was like, huh, let me start using that thing a little bit and see what it does. Well, what I noticed after watching other riders and watching them being able to get into turns faster and get out faster is that the back brake actually doesn't really help you stop all that much. It's not that really good at stopping, let's say, but it's a really good tool to switch your directions. You can really use it to pitch that back end and move. So the reason I was so slow for a long time, I'm pretty sure, was because I was using my full brake all the time for everything. And the full brake, if you didn't know, is super powerful, and it's something that you want to more so just kind of tap and finesse. Oh, like I just tapped my grundle on the top of that fucking lip. My gosh. Anywho, yeah, it's more, the full brake is one that you want to just kind of just barely tap and use as necessary to reduce speed. But the rear brake is super helpful when it comes to turning, setting up for turning, launching that back end right into the rut, and then get on your way. So making sure that you have a good controller setup for rear brake to be easily accessible. I have it on my R1 once again. Not to be sounding like I'm riding nuts, but thanks to go to Godly, because I, never even thought of using 2 fingers on the controller when it comes to the right controls. But I moved my back brake to R1, and then my main brake, I believe, is still L2. I still rock it right there, and it works for me that way. But having both of them and being able to use both of them, like I'll tap what's called the full brake sometimes, like while using what's it called, the sorry, I'm fucking up on these hills. I'll use it simultaneously to get that little bit of stopping power. Then after I get the stopping power, I'll go ahead and I'll switch to the back brake. And then once I get that back brake, I'll be able to swoop around, and then I just let it go, and then I'm able to make it make sense, and then I'll start going fast. So yeah, so it's one of those things where it absolutely works and it helps and cuts down your lap time. So work on that, figure it out, back brake versus full brake. Use it for turning the back brake, and don't always use that full brake. Alright, the dick tip, oh, excuse me, no diddy, I meant the 6th tip to go ahead and ride more like a pro is understanding angles. So, still, once again, harping on the fact that a lot of people say this game isn't very realistic. It is when it comes to the angles. Trajectory and angles is a huge way for you to maximize your corner speed. And hitting every corner at the right angle, outsides to insides, insides to outsides, as smooth as possible, is a way to really go ahead and jump up on there and bring down those lap times. So when I'm saying trajectory and angles, right? So if I'm going to rail this berm, I'm going to rail it, right? All good. We just railed it. Cool. Perfect. And then I'm set up for the inside, right? So I went from outside to inside. And now I'm going to go back to the inside, tuck front, come back up. I'm going to bring this over to this inside, and I'm going to get there. See, what I'm doing is I'm cutting off the track, I'm making the distance a little bit shorter, and then I'm working the track so that my bike doesn't lose momentum. Because when you lose a lot of momentum, it can be bad. Sometimes you want to turn sharp, and sometimes you want to let it flow. So realizing how the tracks go, which takes memorizing the tracks, or at least getting comfortable with them, and then realizing what you can and can't do when it comes to, you know, fast turning with the back brake, or just, you know, rolling through, really makes a difference, knowing the angles. So you got to know the angles, because that'll actually increase your speed a lot. And obviously this all comes with the double clutching, the brake usage, knowing your sticks. I would say to kind of go along with that, angles, sticks is super important. I steer, and I found out about this. I used to, when I started, I steered with my with both my sticks, and I thought it was fine. But the truth is, you want to steer mostly with your left stick. That one is the one that you will always kind of hold on to, and then you'll tap that right stick. And the tapping the right stick helps you pretty much make your micro adjustments. Like that's where you want to just kind of tap, tap, tap if you want to get something tight, and then you let off and hold the other stick, the left one. Ugh, I should have seat bounced. Hold the left one so that way that the bike, it kind of stands up a little bit straighter, but you get better traction, right? And you can have better control over it. So these are things that you kind of have to play with, but you got to be kind of mad on that button smashing, like I said, so that you can use both simultaneously. And honestly, when you get good enough, you're going to basically be able to just go wop, 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 and just fuck them up. Wop, 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 wop. Then you do your stuff. That's kind of what it comes down to. And that's what the pros do. So once again, I preface that with the fact that I'm not a pro, but I've seen them ride, and my lap times have been getting better due to the fact that I've been using some of these techniques. And these techniques can be used by anyone at any speed, and as you get comfortable with them, your speed's going to get faster. So yes, know your angles, know your pitches, know how to come up on turns from outsides to insides, and then once you're exiting the turn, try to find the straightest line to the next turn, because that'll be the fastest way to kind of do that and make that happen. In conclusion to this, these were a few tips that actually took me from being super trash to like mid-range trash, but with like some, some sparks of speed and sparks of lightning. These are things that I kind of put together as I was learning technique and learning the game and everything. I put together at the end with my comfortability in playing the game for so long that I just kind of sort of started doing them. And then when I broke down the how did I get better, it was these things. These things kind of, connected the dots, point A to point B, like all the stuff in between point A to point B. I wasn't able to explain it, but then when I kind of broke it down, these are a few things that helped me do it. So I just want you guys to know that everything I just said in here, it's all comfortability. The bike settings, pick what you like, how you ride and your style, do what's comfortable to you. Anybody can be fast at this game. Trust me, I'm proof that some people suck and then they get better and then they're, not as shitty and then they're less shitty and then they're, pretty mid. All right. But I do have one more tip, obviously, and this one is the 7th and last tip, and it's probably the one that wraps it all together and makes it all kind of make sense. No matter what you do, don't be a puss. Skirt, skirt, out.